Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Thank you for joining us. If you've never been to one of these before, I am Dean Seddon, founder of MAVERRIK. And I was going to say, if you're on LinkedIn watching, come find me, follow me, check me out. What do they call it? Never mind. So we're going to be starting in just a second. We're just waiting for everybody to get the notifications of where to jump in and where to join. But I can see some of you are on LinkedIn already and some of you are on YouTube. Please feel free to jump into the chat, ask questions in the chat. You are welcome to ask me anything, almost anything. But we're going to be talking about how do you build a six-figure revenue stream on LinkedIn. And this is a topic that's really kind of a bit of a mission for me. And I'll tell you why. We'll jump into it in a second. We'll just make sure everybody gets here okay. It's a bit of a mission for me because I meet lots of business people, lots of business owners, lots of people with fantastic ideas, and they can't make it pay. They've got a great idea, great plan, and they can't make it pay. And it's not because it's a bad idea. It's not because they aren't credible people. It's not because they're not experts in what they do. It's because they don't know how to turn that into a revenue stream. They don't know how to make that work, and they specifically don't know how to make that work on LinkedIn. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I've got a few slides, but actually I just want to talk to you about the details of it. And before the end of the session, I'm going to give you a roadmap that you can download, or we'll email it to you actually. I don't think we've got it on a landing page. We'll email it to you if you want it. I'll give you the details of where you need to send an email to get a copy in a second. And we'll give you a plan of what you need to do to turn your idea, your business into a profitable, monetized revenue stream on LinkedIn. So some of you have already got, by the way, viable businesses, you're doing really well, but for some reason, when you get to LinkedIn, it becomes difficult. And it should be a no-brainer because there's 930 million people. There's 35, at least in the UK, there's 35 million professionals on the platform in the UK. There's 235 million in North America, 229 million in Europe. So everybody's there, but for some reason, the result eludes you. And you're not uncommon in this. I've met lots of people, and I'm going to explain to you how and why that happens. And if you are joining us on LinkedIn or YouTube, please, or anywhere else, please put a message in the chat, ask questions. You're totally welcome to quiz me on anything. So, as we kick into the session, first things first, if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. I'm Dean Seddon, founder of MAVERRIK. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, they're the main ones. I am on TikTok, I don't dance, but you can find me on all those channels. So let's start. You want to build a business, you want to build your revenue stream, whether you're a startup, whether you're experienced, whether you're new to LinkedIn, whether you've been on LinkedIn forever, it's irrelevant. The same principles apply to make the platform successful. So I've got 4 things I want to show you, but first thing I want to ask you, is who are you trying to sell to? Have you defined them? And people will tell me, yes, Dean, I've defined them. And then when I work with them one-to-one on a session, a strategy session, I suddenly discover they're not that clear. And if they're not clear, and you're not clear on who you're targeting, guess what? You'll be here, there, and everywhere. You won't focus. You won't be talking to the right people. And so you fundamentally undermine any result that you potentially can achieve. That's the first thing. You will undermine your results. The second thing that you're going to see, or the next thing I want to say to you about who are you going to serve is, and I'll try and budge out the way so you can see this a little bit, who are the most valuable clients. Who are the most valuable clients? Now, what do I mean by the most valuable clients? These are the people that are the perfect people to work with you. They value what you're going to do for them. Number one, they value what they're going to do. People who value what you're going to do for them will pay for it. It's really important you understand this. People who value what you do will pay for it. People who don't, won't. So who are the most valuable clients you can work for? Because they're the people who will add value into your world, and in exchange you add value into theirs. That's how this thing works. But there are also people where you feel most comfortable working with. You feel most engaged working with. These are the keys to building a six-figure pipeline, understanding if I can serve this market here, who are the people here that I can really serve and add a ton of value, and they are prepared to pay me for it. Because let's be honest, you could serve a ton of different people within a marketplace, and they will see what you do differently. Somebody in one area of the market you serve might see you as 50% of the value that as somebody else might. So who are the most valuable people that you can serve? They're the sweet spot clients. And I encourage my clients on our Six-Figure Accelerator to pursue them first. The people who are driven, value the outcome that you're going to deliver, focus on them. Your life, your business will be 1,000,000 times easier if you focus on the people where you can really move the needle for them. So very important you focus on those people as a priority. So these kind of people, and maybe we can put this up on screen so you can see it. Most valuable clients, general clients. Hopefully you can see this. Most valuable clients, strong and common buying motivation. They're buying for the same reason. They're buying for common reasons. If you have people buying because they need to save some time, and you have people who are buying because they want to make a financial gain, they are two different customers with two different perceived benefits of your program or your course or your service or whatever you're selling. So you want to basically make sure that they have a common buying motivation. They have a high value defined problem. Somebody who has a problem that is low value is not going to pay you a high value price, even though it might be the same service that somebody else will. Are they willing and able to pay? Obvious no-brainer. Are they easy to work with? And that's partly you setting boundaries too. And we talked about that a little last week, about you setting your own boundaries. And then, are you able to find them? So funny. I've met so many people who say, right, this is my ideal client. These are the people I really want to go after. And they don't have an idea of how to find them. And sometimes I find people who actually target an audience that's almost impossible to find. And they go, but yes, I've got a great niche. I've got a great niche. So well refined, nobody's targeting it. And when you dig into it, you realize there's a reason nobody's targeting it, because they're hard to find. And so think about this carefully. Have you got a great service? Have you got a great offer for the market, but you've defined your audience in a way that you can't easily find them? You can't track them down. If you can't find them on LinkedIn with all of the search filters that LinkedIn has, you are in trouble, because compared to Facebook, compared to Instagram, compared to TikTok, compared to Twitter, LinkedIn has the best way to find your prospects. So if you can't define them and find them on LinkedIn, it's going to be tough on other platforms. So defining them and making sure you can find them in the quantities that you need to support the revenue goals that you have. So without this, and then of course they need to be motivated to actually take action and not just live in the problem. So if you Every business, me, you, everybody solves problems. And if you are not able to solve a problem for them, they will not need to take action. Let's just do a little exercise here. Just think about your own world. Think about how this works for you. When you have a task list, yeah? Think about your own task list, your to-do list. How much stuff have you got on there that you've said to yourself, oh, I must do that. But because there's no consequence, because there's no pain, there's no discomfort, you just sit on it. Yeah, I'll put it off. I'll put it off. I'll put it off. Some people watching me today have put off getting clients and building the revenue stream that they need because they've not felt any discomfort. Some of you know what I'm talking about. I'll do it another day. It's not that important, so I'll put it off. I'll put it off. Guess what? One day that will come home to roost, and then you will need to do something quickly. You do not want to be in a position where you do something quickly. You want to be built, particularly with getting clients, you want to be building something that is ahead of you. It's building something for the future, not hand to mouth, one step in front of yourself. So this is why you need to focus on your most valuable clients. Without it, you will struggle. Then this next part is tough. And maybe I'll put it up on screen a little bit so you can see it. You are a three-dimensional being. You have variances, you can offer lots of different things, you can sell yourself in lots of different ways, you can sell your service in lots of different ways. But the problem comes is that when you do that, you create ambiguity. So if you can say, I can do this, 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 blah, 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 right? You create noise. And on LinkedIn, on social media, you can't afford to make noise. You need to create clarity. So simplicity becomes your friend. Being clear and simplistic makes it easy for people to see your value. And so if you try to throw complexity at LinkedIn, people will not get it. Remember, LinkedIn is not something people are sat studying in detail. They're browsing, they're scrolling, they're looking through. They're not spending days, hours, weeks studying things. They look, if it's interesting, they pay attention. If they don't, they move on. So you've got to make it simple. You've got to land your value in seconds. So whatever you're selling, coaching, cybersecurity, telephone answering services, it doesn't matter what it is. You have to make it easy for people to see the value of it. Without that, you will end up in a situation where people don't get it. Not because of, they're stupid, but because you're not understanding the context of where they're seeing it. And so we're thinking in a different way when we're on our phones browsing LinkedIn than if we're reading papers in our office on our desk, at our desk. I nearly said on our desk. I was thinking, who sits on their desk reading papers? And I'm getting sidetracked. But you get my point. We are in a different mental place when we're scrolling on our phone. And if you miss that, you will create complexity that people will move past and ignore. And so you want to package your offer, and your offer is basically broken down into 4 parts. Who's it for? The audience, MVCs. What's the outcome they want? So again, you have to be specific. What's your process to help them get there? And what's the price that correlates to the value that the outcome delivers? The outcome determines the price, and the process backs up the outcome. So these 4 parts support and sustain each other to make a clear, concise offer. So people know it's for them, they know the outcome it delivers, they know the value of it, the price, and they also know the process that you're going to do. So they can go, this is a fit for me. This works for me. And that's really what you want. That is the process to win clients, by simplifying your offer to make it clear that it's for them and it will unlock value for them. So the price doesn't become a, oh, that's expensive. The price becomes, that's the investment to get to your destination. It's not, you do not want people, and if you look at this price and process, you do not want people to basically appraise your price against your process. But my guess is many of you actually do that. Many of you actually create and put your whole business by selling the process of what you do, and that you're trying to justify the price against the process. You justify your price against the destination, the outcome. The process justifies the outcome. It's like a foundation that supports the outcome. So package your offer, make it simple for your MVCs so they can understand, this is for me. This will help me. Very important that you understand that that is key to building the pipeline of revenue you want. Now, of course, you don't have to spam message people. And I just want to kind of dig into something on LinkedIn, and I may switch to LinkedIn in a second, because there's something that I'm talking about at the moment that I think is important, and I want to talk about it right now because I think we are reaching a point where somebody has to say this. So we've been told, you've been told, I've been told, post great content and that will get you clients. It's absolute nonsense. It's total nonsense. You can't build a business solely off content. It's not possible unless you pursue becoming one of the top 0.1% of social media users on the planet. On the planet. Maybe top 1% of users on the planet. That's when you can get to the position of going, I can make my business work with content. But look around the world. Look around the world, right? There is a slither of people who are making a living doing that, a slither, right? So if you're pursuing that, right, understand you're going to make a heavy investment into content with no guarantee of success, number one. And number two, no guarantee of sustained success because the platform might pull the rug from under you. So whilst content is good and it's helpful and it does bring you a bit of business and it will bring you opportunities, it's not something you can bank on as the primary method to get business. Somebody has to tell you this, because if you go onto social media, you will see influencers telling you post great content, post great content. It's rubbish. It's rubbish, because what they're saying is do what I did. Do exactly what I did. Unfortunately, if everybody did what they did, it would be so flipping noisy, nobody would be able to achieve it and everybody loses. It just does not work that way. Content on its own is not the answer. Second side of this, messaging. These two things are almost thrown as opposites of each other. And it's not the case that if I don't do content, I have to hammer people in the DMs. The two things are not connected. You should be doing a bit of content and outreach together, two together. The outreach bit will be more predictable than the content. So the content should be the icing on the cake, not the cake itself. Because could you imagine if some of the biggest businesses in the world decided to replicate that model? Why don't they? Why don't the biggest companies in the world do that? Why don't they do that? Why don't they stop spending all their money on salespeople? And why don't they create more and more content? Because it can't work. It does not scale in 99% of the cases. So it does not mean, oh, ditch content. I'm not saying that. I'm saying don't bank on content. Do it, but don't bank on it. On the other side, I'm not saying hammer people either. I'm saying do a bit of both, build relationships, use both, and you'll win better. You'll win more doing that than one or the other. But some of you, I'm picking on people tonight, some of you are spending 6-7 hours a week creating content and then going, I've no time now to message anybody. No time to build relationships with prospects. I've replied to all the comments on my posts. I've gone and engaged with influencers. I've done all that stuff. I've got no time to engage with prospects now. I'm exhausted. And I've got work to do. I've got paperwork to do. I've got clients to look after. So they don't message anybody. That's not the way to go. It's the two things working together. It's not one or the other. It's both. And it's not one's the golden egg and the other one's the second cousin. They both complement each other. And that's the key here. So, package your offer. I got into a little rant there. It's because we're coming to content. So, you've got a personal brand. You need to use that. And that's where your content can help you get known for the right reasons and bring that clarity. You've got topics to talk about. So, yes, you are going to have to put out content to educate, to inform, to build trust, to get some leads. But that's not going to pay the bills day to day, week to week. It's just not going to happen. So you need to go, this is something that will work away in the background, will build some trust, build some business, but at the same time, I need to be engaging people. So there's kind of some elements to your content. There's the personal brand, who you are and what you're about, what you stand for, what you'll die on a hill for. Your personal brand, who you are, what you believe. Then you've got your topics. So one of mine is LinkedIn, of course. One is winning clients. And then you've got that topics and broken down, because adding value with content can help build the trust so that when you outreach or when somebody sees it, they go, I understand what Dean's all about. So these are key elements. Content is key. It's not king. And your big promise is your campaign slogan that you're going to use to actually communicate that value simply and clearly. And you'll see on the top of my LinkedIn profile, I have my own campaign promise, my election slogan. It's build a six-figure pipeline and win clients on LinkedIn. That's what I do. That's what I tell people, that's what I do, and that's what I talk about. So on that note, I've got a handout for you today. So if you want it, it's a six-figure planner. It's totally free, and we'll send it to you by email. So if you want a copy of that, I want you to send an email to hi@maverick.io. hi@maverick.io. So if you see it, you should see it on the screen. Email us hi@maverick.io and ask us for the six-figure planner. I'm broadcasting tonight from Plymouth in the UK. It's 7:30 almost. So it will be tomorrow before we get that back to you. But send us an email and we will send you the six-figure planner. And that will help you map out, what do I need to do to actually win business? What's the priorities of what I've got to do? What's the key metrics I should be tracking to see, am I on track? Am I succeeding or am I not? So we'll give you a copy of that. It's totally free. hi@maverick.io. And I think the email's somewhere on screen here. So just grab the email, drop an email in, ask for the six-figure planner, and we will send it to you tomorrow. So content and your personal brand and your message, it needs to be clear. You need to be putting it out, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Content is not king, it's key. It's not king, because king implies it's the top of the tree. It's part of the mix. It's an important part of the mix, as is messaging, but it's not one or the other, it's both. So now we have to go, well, okay, we're going to move to calls. How do we close clients? Well, the number one metric that will judge your success every single week, the number one metric. How many people did I book on calls this week? How many people did I book on calls this week? If that number's 0, you need to do something about that next week. And you should set yourself a rule based on how much money you want to make. With the planner, you can reverse engineer to, okay, how many sales calls, discovery calls, strategy calls, whatever you want to call them, with potential prospects do I need every single week to win business and to hit my goal? If you're not tracking that number, you are all over the show. So every week you should wake up with a number in your mind. Every Monday morning, you should wake up with a number in your mind. This week, this is how many calls I need to equal my goals. And if you get that number, you get that goal. It's really simple. And so our activity becomes about how do we get that number? What's the best way? What's the most efficient way? What's the simplest and most straightforward way? And I'm going to share with you 3 tonight. So if we think about it as calls is the metric we can measure, then obviously when you go on those calls, there's a success rate. You have to have a success rate. How many of those calls did I mess up? How many of those calls went really well? How many of those calls actually went, yes, let's go ahead? Dead simple. Dead simple. So you have that metric. Then we work backwards. What will get those calls? What's the most efficient way to get the number of calls we need? And then what are the daily actions we need to take to get those calls? That's it. That's it. So let's look at content for a moment. Okay, what do you need to do? Let's say we need 5 calls a week or 10 calls a week, or let's say 10 calls a month. Content. What will get you, what action will you take that will get you 10 calls a month with content? Guess. Most of you are going, and suddenly it clicks. Suddenly it clicks for you. I can't click my fingers, I don't think. Suddenly it clicks. I have no control over the content piece. 0 control. I can put it out, but I can't determine what will happen on that day. Because some days my content goes really well and other days it doesn't. What about messaging? Can I control it on messaging? Well, to a degree you can, because you can engage with a number of prospects, and based on the number you engage with, a percentage will respond positively and agree to a call. So you can a little bit more so. It's more concrete than content. So we can see how actually talking to prospects in messaging can be more concrete than content. Still got some variables to it. So what we need to do is find other ways to do this too. And you're watching one right now. This is how I do it. I do these events on a regular basis and give free value away, and people decide to book calls with me because they go, Dean, you're doing this, you've done this. Why would I try and make this up and guess at this when you've done it for 4 years on LinkedIn doing this stuff to win clients? So this is one of the methods. We're doing it right now. Dean, doing a LinkedIn event, giving value to you, is one of my methods to book more calls, because some people watching this will go, do you know what? I'm fed up of going round and round in circles. I just want to get this nailed and done. Why would I not get somebody else's help who's doing it? So I've just give you a tip. This is it. This is one of them. This is one of the key metrics. So you've got messaging, social selling. I don't mean pitching. I don't mean annoying people. I don't mean sending loads and loads of messages that are untargeted, unresearched, not relevant to people. I mean social selling. Proper social selling where you use relevance and relationship to unlock clients. That's number 1. And that's where I'm referring to messaging. Number 2, doing things like this. This works especially if you sell your expertise as a coach, a consultant, an educator, a speaker, whatever it is. This is top of the tree, because if people come to this, they know who I am. They know my style. They either like it or they don't. So if you're an educator, coach, consultant, you do similar things to what I do, maybe different industries, different types of things, but you're selling your expertise, this is a great medium. This is a great medium because you get to meet me in real time. You get to see, does he know what he's talking about? Can I work with him? You get to see it. So if somebody books a call and says, Dean, I want to work with you, or they DM me after seeing me on a webinar and they say, I want to work with you, guess what? It's way easier to close them because they're already bought into me. That question mark has been taken away. They either like me or they don't. And just as a, none of us love being disliked, right? None of us like it. Yeah, we always feel it's unfair. But one of the great things about this is you find the people who go, I like the way he does things. I like the way she does things. And it's fantastic because instead of going, oh, I get on the call and it was awkward and I'm not sure if they even like me and there's that weird pretense where they pretend to be interested and all that stuff, it's gone. Because they either like you or they don't. They won't book a call if they don't like the way I do things. Simple. So this is the education piece is powerful. Now some people say to me, Dean, why don't you just record these and make them evergreen? Why don't you just record these and make them evergreen? Well, I could make this an evergreen presentation. I could make it evergreen, put it on a landing page, run ads to it. But unfortunately, that would not be a scalable thing for me to teach other people to do. Because if I did that, and then you look to me to say, Dean, help me do this, there is no way you can do a recorded webinar like this, first time perfect. You'll have to do it probably 10 times before you're happy with it. So I like to do these live because, with the exception of tonight, where you're quite quiet, I like to engage with the comments. I like to have a conversation. I like to do it a bit more live because you get a flavour of who I am, whereas when you do it recorded, it's a bit more rigid, it's a bit more stiff, it's a bit more programmatic, whereas here, it's a bit more conversational. So I like to do it live, one, because it's an example to you, because if you want to do this and you want my help to do this, well, I better be doing it myself, right? The second bit is, it's not scalable, at least initially, to be able to just do it once and done perfect the first time. You have to do it multiple times to get it even into a place where you can actually get a result. So, social selling, webinars. The final one I want to talk about is lead magnets. Now, lead magnets, they are complicated to do, and I'll tell you why they're complicated. It's because you have to understand the journey people go on to downloading the lead magnet. If you don't understand the journey people go on, what happens is you get the wrong people downloading your lead magnet. So when it comes to follow up, to turn them into calls, you don't get the result because you've not focused on the right people and engineered the various stages of the process to get people to download that lead magnet so it's effective. I'll tell you something else. Most people give up. Being straight honest, most people give up. They think if they can build a lead magnet and it does not work out of the box straight away, or with the minor of tweaks, forget it. Just forget it. Never mind, move on. It's like, that's such a mistake. Such a mistake. Because when I start creating lead magnets, the first time I do them, they're like, ugh, that didn't work so well. But I commit and I stick and I focus and I adjust, and that's how you get a lead magnet that converts. Some of mine are converting at like 30, 40% because I understand my MVCs, I understand what they want to get to, the outcome, and I engineer my lead magnets to speak to them about this, and so the downloads are effective. But it takes some work, it takes some refinement. These are the 3 things you can do on LinkedIn to really build something. Build your business. Social selling, live events, webinar, lead magnets. Those 3. Now, of course, the icing on the cake is inbound leads from content. Absolutely. But it takes 21 pieces of content to be consumed before you can generate a lead on average. 21 leads. David, absolutely right. Quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. So you've got to really focus. Lead magnets are tough. Webinars are a bit easier. Social selling, it's actually, in one sense, social selling is easier and harder. It's easier in the sense of once you're into it, it feels quite comfortable and you can make progress quite quickly, but it's scary. It's actually scary. I've met die-hard salespeople who come apart when it comes to typing messages. They literally fall apart and crumble. So you've got to be logging. How many calls am I booking? What's my actions this week to book those calls? And do it as clearly, as concisely as possible. Every week I have a number, and that number is 25. Every week I have to book 25 sales calls. And that will be for a range of things, from some of our online courses, from our sales and corporate work, and our six-figure accelerator. I have to get 25. That's my goal in my head. It's 5 a day, 5 every single day. That's what I work to every single day. It's my number. I have to do it. No ifs, no buts. And so it forces you to think, what's the most effective way to do it? Webinars, build an email list. I've not talked about the email list. Build an email list off the back of your webinars. Add value into them, drive them to calls. Drive them to calls. Ilian, what tools are you using to track all that? Right, so in my case, I'll tell you, once you start doing some of the webinars, you start to end up with more contacts than you can manage. So for me, as an example, you'll see we've got, I think, 500 people registered for this. So across YouTube and LinkedIn, people are watching, and then people will watch on the replay. You can't possibly track 500 people. A human being can't do it. We've got a team of salespeople. So what we will do is we will put everybody into our mailing list and we will nurture them on email. And as they book into calls, we will basically, the sales team will look after them, offer free support and advice, because we know that not everybody's going to be in the right place at the right time. Some people will go, thank you, Dean, this was great, but I'm not in that place right now. And our sales team will still call, still give advice, still give tips, but ultimately we will add value into their world for the right time too, because we know that only a fraction of people are in that place to buy right now. So that's what we do. So to answer Ilian's question, its email list is kind of like the big thing. And then as people book calls or show interest in various things, then a salesperson will look after them. And I don't mean look after them as in, hey, should we book a call? Hey, should we book a call? I mean, how can we help them so, one, they build more trust, and two, they remember us for the time when they're ready to take action. And that's quite a long-term strategy. But one of the great things about the webinars is when you're really focused and you're building those connections, you can grow quite quickly. You can build that list really quickly. It's about focus, real focus, and then you can start to really make an impact. So the main tool is an email list, and then a CRM for the people who step out of, rise above the parapet, shall we say. So we have this massive list. Rise above the parapet means they show interest. We will then nurture them with a salesperson in a CRM. Does that answer your question, Ilian? Hopefully it does. So you've got to have this plan for calls. No calls, no sales, no clients. If you're not getting calls, you have to have a plan which is either social selling, webinars, or lead magnets. They're the three. It's one of the three to get the calls. How long does it take? So Renee, so there's a couple of questions there. It depends. 6 figures at the base level is 100 grand. 6 figures at the base level is 100 grand. So If you're selling £10,000 service and you've packaged your offer, you need 10 clients. If you're doing social selling, I have to caveat this because it depends on your network. If you've got 100 connections and none of them are relevant customers, you're starting from the ground up. But with social selling, 3 months. 3 months. If you know exactly who you're going after, you've nailed it and you go for it. 3 months. If you're doing it from scratch and you want to do it a more slow way, but longer term it's easier, webinars is the easiest. This is the easiest way. Might seem stressful, and it is with the video bit, but actually it's an easier way to sell because you're selling on authority. Social selling, you're selling on relevance or relationship, and then when you get to the call, you've got to prove yourself. With webinars, you prove yourself first, and then they come onto the calls. So then it's about, is the offer that you're going to make the right fit for them? So it's a different landscape. Lead magnets is kind of in between. It's kind of in between. You've kind of developed a bit of authority, but they haven't met you yet. So it's those three. Now, video content can help because if they've seen you in their feed, it can help, but it's not going to change the world by itself. Any specific CRM? So we use Pipedrive. We use Pipedrive as our CRM. And then email list, you can use MailChimp. We use a dedicated one because we've got a lot on our program. We've got a lot of coaching calls and course platform stuff, so it's all integrated. So it's an integrated system. But MailChimp, Constant Contact, any of those will work. So Rennie, I kind of answered your question. Social selling's the fastest way to do it, but it is a much bigger time suck, massive time suck compared to webinars. But webinars is a bit slower, but less time. Any other question? It's absolutely roasting here in Plymouth. I feel like I'm cooking whilst I'm stood here. Any questions? So, the benefit to the process. You attract your most valuable clients. You get more clients in less time. You have a clarity and clear direction. Every action on LinkedIn is connected to making you money, not wasting your time. You'll make more money and you'll enjoy your business more. You'll start to make an impact on LinkedIn. You'll have a system. That's the most important thing, a system that you can rinse and repeat. But if you want the goal setting plan, drop me an email, hi@maverick.io. It should be on screen somewhere, hi@maverick.io. Drop me an email. I'll get the guys to send it to you, the team to send it to you tomorrow. And they will send you the plan, tell you how it works, and just write down your goals. Write them down so that then you can actually hold yourself accountable and go, look, Dean, this is the key metric. I need this many calls to hit my revenue. What am I doing on that? And instead of spending 10 hours making content, make some, but instead of spending 10 hours, go, no, I'm gonna ease up on the content, make sure I get the right stuff done, but then I actually need to talk to people. So what am I going to do about that? And that's the key, absolute key. So that's the plan. Drop an email in, we'll send it to you. David, you've got a copy, but I don't think you've seen the new one, so I'll send it to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I am going to leave the studio because I'm absolutely melting. Hopefully you can't tell. Thank you for joining us. Please do check out Maverick's upcoming events. Follow our company page. Come find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. Appreciate all the support that you give us. And if you want to take action, drop me a DM. Drop me a DM and say, Dean, how can you help me? And we'll tell you what we do and how we do it. And if it's a fit, it's a fit. If it's not, don't worry about it. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go cool down. I'm going to jump in an ice bath. No, I'd probably have a heart attack if I did that. I'm going to go cool down. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'll see you next week. Got another webinar, same time, same place. See you next week.
Dean's strategy helped me find clients. I created clients for my business with this program. It works.
My connections have grown, my reach has grown, my views have grown, and actually so has my business revenue. Over that 3-month period, I have actually signed up 3 new clients at a cost of £50,000. That's over just a 3-month period. So it's worth it.
Every single time there's a session, I just feel like it's just a golden moment. Every single session brings me something really new and really valuable, and I've started to attract high value client sales, which is wonderful, and it's really given our business a boost.
Dean Seddon and the Maverick team, what can I say? Apart from absolutely awesome.
The results have been amazing. We have had loads of incoming leads coming into our lead funnels and workflow processes on our website. And we've also built a really successful community around the content that we produce and push out into our LinkedIn channels. My team has also learned a lot from working with the team at Maverick, and they've also helped us really create fantastic events on LinkedIn.
I'm much more confident, and all of that, without a shadow of doubt, is down to the work and the training and support I've had from Dean and the rest of his team as part of the Accelerator course.
In terms of the training, Maverick have been absolutely fantastic. They've been so supportive. They've talked me through all the stages of what you have to do, why you have to do it, the benefits of doing it the way they tell us to do it. And I've gone from being with no social media to being actually addicted, because I can see what this can do for lead generation, generating new business. It's just been incredible, and Maverick have been superb throughout the whole process.
The guys at Maverick, they've been great. Dean and his team, very knowledgeable, wealth of experience, and we've had quite a few one-to-ones now that really taught us the depths, the nooks and crannies of LinkedIn, which none of us would have known before, and I think we can continue to use that going forward, and it's been great so far, and I hope to continue to use it as well.